Hey everyone, welcome back to the Design Den. For the next 2 episodes, we're going to be talking about gathering reference for the environments, narrative, and gameplay for a single-player FPS game. But this information can apply to any game. We'll discuss why reference is so valuable to the design process. I'll show you what workflows I use, and we'll take a look at what I've cooked up so far for the World War II example project. All right, let's jump into it. So using reference is a very important part of the creative process. It allows you to clearly see and understand what elements from the reference you can leverage into your design. Whether you're looking at an image of an environment or a clip from a movie or a game or the schematics of a weapon, you'll be surprised at how quickly you come up with new ideas and feel inspired to get to work. So when I gather reference, I tend to start with the environment. What I suggest doing is collecting key images that include some core visual elements of that location. Things like structural patterns in the architecture, different terrain elevation, and anything that can help you understand the scale. That's super important. And you don't need to focus on the details at first. That's the artist's job. But as the level designer, you are creating the foundation of the space when you block it out. So focusing on the basic shape language will help give the level its overall identity. For me, when it comes to single player, images really help drive my early vision for the gameplay because I loosely tie the events of the mission to the location. So thinking about which space you want to use and how you want to use it is also a good habit to get into early on. So one common practice for gathering visual reference is to create mood boards or ref boards. Mood boards are simply collages of your reference images built to provide inspiration while you work. They're a one-stop shop for you to pull all those visual elements that we talked about before into your design. Now, mood boards are often created and owned by environment artists. But it's great to have experience creating them if you're a designer. Obviously, they're great to work with, but they're good for presentations and they come in handy in design documentation as well. Let's take a look at some of the mood boards I've created in Photoshop for the Tempelhof project. So what I've done is I've made one mood board for each of the different areas of the level that I expect to build and use. If you have a large level or a level that's comprised of a lot of different biomes or different environment types, then I suggest doing the same thing. It's just going to save you time and it's more organized in the end. Now there's really no set standard for how you create these things, so you can kind of organize it whatever way you want. I've added a color palette, which I like doing. I'll use those colors for the blockout and it probably helps the environment artist as well. And then I also put everything on a black background just because it's easier on the eyes, which is all totally unnecessary, but spice is good, I like spice, spice it up. Now, in a later episode, we'll dive deeper into the layout and design process. So we'll talk more about why I chose these locations and the benefits and gameplay that I see. But I mentioned earlier how you have to really kind of hone in on certain architectural elements and any kind of strong feature in the environment, and that's what I've done here. There's this dominating scale of the architecture in the main terminal area. There's the curve of the hangar. Yeah, these are elements of Tempelhof that I find visually appealing. But more importantly, I think these spaces would offer some really nice gameplay opportunities once they have a layer of World War II theming added on top. I often try to come up with a visual hook or a set piece that really sets the environment apart and will have some lasting effects on how players will use the space. So for example, the main terminal is a unique space, but it's kind of dry. It's like, okay, cool, it's got big pillars and balconies and tall windows and ceilings, but it's also a big empty space with not much for players to do. So if I were to block this space out and do a basic cover pass, it would still feel pretty flat, right? But if I knocked over a few of the pillars and broke open the ceiling and had a crashed plane inside, then it would at least be a little more interesting, right? So a question to ask yourself is, what kind of visual hook or set piece can you bring into your space to kind of change the visuals and make it a little bit more unique? And that also just kind of has lasting effects on the gameplay. Now you've got new player paths, you got cool routes, different verticality, the lightings, it's just a whole different scene now. And from there, then you can make a mood board to represent those ideas too. And you can get pretty granular with these mood boards yourself if you feel it's necessary. You can bring in the blockout to help plot the images, you can have lighting mood boards, vegetation, destruction, and even cover mood boards if you want. Something else I've been using the last few years, which you'll really like if you don't have access to Photoshop, is this awesome application called PureRef. I'll put the link in the description below. With PureRef, you can essentially create an endless mood board quickly and painlessly, and you can easily share the file with other team members. It's a pretty streamlined and pretty simple to get used to. I also want to mention that PureRef is built by a small team, So throw them a Starbucks coffee worth of money when you download it. And I know things are tight for everyone right now, but it probably goes further than you think. Okay, so that's what I've got for today when it comes to gathering environment reference as a level designer. In the next episode, we'll talk about gathering narrative and gameplay reference. If you liked the video or have any suggestions or workflows that I might have missed, please let me know in the comments. I'll respond and could always do a Q&A episode in the future if enough people want it. And I know it's the lame YouTuber thing to say, but please subscribe, it helps out a lot. I also want to give a shout out to all of the Discord server boosters. You guys rock and you make the Discord server better for everybody, so I thank you. And if you haven't joined our Discord yet, you totally should. I'll put the link below. It's full of students and modders and other AAA developers just like me, helping people who want to get into game development. Everybody's networking, we run challenges, it's a really great time. So I hope to see you there. And I hope to see you right back here next time in the Design Den.